welcome back to another episode of the Black Girls Chat Room, brought to you by Inside a Black Girl's Mind. I am Bibi, and today I am joined by Shelly and Eunice. Today we're going to be talking about colorism. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the Dani Leigh debacle, but that's kind of brought up some emotions and some feelings for some people. So I think the best way we can do this is to kind of just go through kind of what was in our minds about it when we first saw it. So for me, I was immediately thinking about what is colorism, because that's my point of research. So Shelly and Eunice, why don't you go ahead and give me your definitions, and then we'll kind of compare and see what that's like.
So I know that it means like preferential treatment for people of lighter. I believe so. Yeah, I think it's preferential treatment of people of lighter skin tones, and it's typically between like races within the race. So the only thing I can think of like to like kind of clearly elaborate my thought is like that brown paper bag.
Oh yeah.
Idea that, oh, if you're lighter than this shade, that you're like more beautiful, you're more likely to get like, or you have like certain privileges that people who are darker don't necessarily have.
Right.
And I agree. Yeah, I agree with what Eunice said. I think it's the colorism to me is the imbalance of Black women. To me, it's like Eunice said, the treatment of lighter shades to darker shades. You know, it brings me back to, you know, thinking about slavery, in fact, where, you know, that the different treatment is dependent on the shade of brown you are. You know, lighter in the house, you know, you're allowed to work in the house, the darker skin out in the field, in the sun. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's what I see as colorism.
Yeah, and when we look at like the textbook definition of colorism, that's exactly what it is. It's prejudice or discrimination based on your skin complexion within a certain ethnicity or racial group. And I don't know about you guys, but I have never personally experienced colorism. So have either of you experienced colorism? Or
I remember when we had a conversation and we were saying, you know, we can talk about our experiences, and, you know, believe it or not, I actually haven't experienced, to my knowledge, you know, that I've had any special treatment because of the complexion I'm in. I've never, you know, got jobs based on I'm lighter than the woman next to me because she's dark. I've never experienced it. Do you know what I mean? The only thing I can say I have experienced, and that is racism, but as a Black woman, not because of the color of the complexion that I am.
Right. And what about you, Eunice?
No, not really. Not to my knowledge have I experienced colorism. I think it's more so like childish, like primary school stuff of, oh, like the light goes off and then everyone's kind of like, oh my gosh, like where's this person kind of thing. But like I haven't experienced it of recent.
That's almost like just racism though, isn't it? It's like, oh, why, like for me, I got that, oh my God, why is your lip so big? Why is your nose so big? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
I think for me, because I went to a school that was like predominantly Black, it was more so within us of, oh, like certain people who are darker would know that like when lights go out for maybe you watching a movie or something, you're kind of like on edge. You're like, oh my gosh, what are they going to say now?
That kind of banter that you almost have amongst each other, but even so, it's still, you know.
Yeah, you think back to it and you're like, I didn't really feel comfortable then, and that wasn't really like the funniest thing ever.
Yeah, it's like growing up, for some reason my lips don't even look that big now, maybe because my face is like, you know, grown. Yeah, rubber lips, that's all I used to hear. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, now people are filling their lips to have lips like this. But you laugh it off, but it does affect you. You start, you know, trying to suck in your lips, and do you know what I mean? Yeah. But like I said, back to the topic, I've never experienced anything because of the shade of my skin.
And I think the important thing that you said, Shelley, though, was that you haven't experienced anything to your knowledge. Because and we can start talking about Dani Leigh and that whole situation, but in her case, in her apology or reason why she did what she did, she said that she never gained anything for having a lighter complexion. And I think that I know there's literally studies that prove that people with lighter complexions, especially Black people of lighter complexions, they tend to have more privilege. And when I say that, I think back to studies that involve, like, with the criminal justice system. There was a study done where light-skinned Black women got 12% less prison or jail time than darker-skinned Black women. So it may not be to your knowledge. And I think that's a very important part to point out. But I mentioned Dani Leigh real quick. I'm gonna go real quickly back to experiences, because even though I've never personally experienced colorism, I know people in my circle who have. And it's always been darker skinned Black women who I know who have experienced it. And I think that's another point to make, is that unfortunately, that is what this ism is. It's something that affects darker skinned people negatively than more so than it does lighter skinned Black people. And not to like offend anyone, but I would even go as far as to say, as light skinned Black people aren't affected negatively at all by colorism. By racism, absolutely. There is no questioning that. But I would say that colorism doesn't affect light skinned people negatively. And Shelley, like, obviously you're a light-skinned Black woman. Like, how do you feel about me saying that?
Well, you know, everyone's experiences are different and everyone's opinions are going to be different. Do you see what I mean? Like I said, I haven't directly been abused, or do you know what I mean? Attacked. Yeah. My friends are, a lot of them are dark skin, they're beautiful. Do you know what I mean? They have no problem, you know, getting fantastic jobs. They have partners. Do you know what I mean? So right. I've never been in that circle thinking, oh my gosh, well, you know, I'm privileged at all, you know. But I have grown hearing, you know, light skin people, they can't cook, they can't clean, you know, they don't know how to, you grow hearing these kind of things. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. And you know, like I said, it wasn't a personal thing against me, but then it does stick in your mind, like, oh wow, this is another Black woman, because that's all I see. I see Black women. Do you see what I mean? So, you know, it's like when there's a group of women and you pick them out based on their shade. Oh, you know, the light skin girl over there, or do you know the dark, like, and I'm just like, why do we do that? Why do we do that? You see what I mean? But for me, I think, one, like we discussed, it's 2021. We're in 2021, and like, to still have these conversations, to me, it's like, have we even moved forward? You know, I know a lot of, you know, light-skinned women that they don't want to kind of be themselves, if that makes sense. I don't know how to put it. Do you know what I mean? They kind of done this, so no one don't have that thing, oh, she thinks she's too nice. You know, she kind of blends in the background, so no one don't really talk about her. Do you know what I mean? So therefore, it's like, you can't be yourself. But at the same time, we're all Black women. It's so confusing.
And I was gonna say that, I was like, I think there's definitely a correlation between colorism and gender. I think for light-skinned Black women, we do see obviously more appreciation, more uplifting, as far as like, this is what desirability looks like for the Black woman. And for Black men, I do believe it's the same, but you also have the negative stereotypes of the light-skinned Black man being, you know, prissy or not being the pretty boy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think though as well, we have done it to ourselves. We have segregated ourselves. And as much as, you know, us as Black people want to move forward, that's why for me, this is my personal opinion, we take 10 steps backwards because of this. Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, the light skin, dark skin war, you might as well say, that's been going on for years and years and years. I feel like, you know, again, I was saying to you during the week, India RE, do you know what? Brown skin, love that song, because to me, she's not just talking about dark skinned women, she's talking about Black women. That's what I am. So I appreciate the song. Have I had it in my mind to be like, what do you mean brown skin? What about caramel? What about, you know, all of these other lighter colors? I don't think that.
But do you not feel that way? Because even though, again, I'm not saying light-skinned people don't face racism, but do you not feel that way because you feel like you're represented enough? Do you feel that way because you can see images of yourself when you turn on the TV screen, whereas like when a darker person turns on the TV, they may see an image of themselves, but it's probably very negative. Like there's like an 85% chance it's going to be a negative representation. So it's almost as if like, it's dope that you appreciate that, but, and that almost brings us to the Dani Leigh conversation already. Is it necessary?
Yeah, that's what I was going to go on to. That's what I was going to go on to. Yeah. You know, it's like, I love India RE anyway. The song, loved it. Yeah. And then you have got this girl that is talking about yellow, but I'm like, why? Yeah. Why? You know what I mean? But then I listened to the song, and for me, there was two bits to it in my mind. It was a bit where I thought she wasn't talking about all light-skinned women. Okay. She was talking her man loving her yellow bone. Do you know what I mean? And that's how I took it when I listened to it about 3 times, and I was like, hold on a minute. I don't think she was talking about men just loving light-skinned women.
The standard. She was talking
yeah. She was talking about her man. That's her man who loves all of her and her yellow bone. And do you know what I mean? That's how I took it. When I first listened to it, I was like, what is in the world? Do you know what I mean? And I had to listen to it over and over again and kind of dissect it and try and make sense out of why did she make this song? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, I have to disagree. When I first heard the song, I was like, this is terrible. Like, that's exactly where my mind went first. I'm like,
it's not a song that I would, you know, play and dance around to at all.
At all. It's not a bop. It's not a vibe. Like, I'm not about to play this in my car. Like, it's just not. That was my first thought. Then my second thought was like, but why? Like, what was your purpose in doing this? Because even if, because it didn't come to my mind first that she was talking just about herself, but even if your message is different than how I'm taking it, you're perpetuating a notion that's problematic. And that notion affects us in all areas of our life, not just in who's attractive.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. And the one thing that what I heard her say when she was doing that apology is, you know, she didn't know anything about colorism, which how could you not? And number 2 is when she did say she's not racist, she has Black friends. And I was like, who and what do you class yourself as? I was a bit confused when I did, because I just didn't get that. So, you know, you clearly don't class yourself as a Black woman, because you didn't say I'm a Black woman, so I'm not colorist and I'm not racist. She said, I am not racist because I have Black friends. Right. So I was a bit confused about that as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
But in terms of the song, like I said, listen to it, I just thought she was talking about herself.
And I know, Eunice, you and I were talking a little bit earlier, and you were saying that you weren't really moved by it. So why don't you give us a little bit Because I thought your perspective was actually really interesting as well.
Yeah, like I saw it on the TL, but I was just like, I don't really care for it. I purposefully don't engage in like certain discussions that I think will like change my mood or like impact my mood during the day. So I was just like, nah, like I don't really care for this. Yellow Bone is what he likes, okay. Like, do you know what I mean? But when you did send it into the group chat, I went back and listened to it, and I watched a video by Kim about like what she thought. And obviously I understand how problematic the song is, but I feel like it's just I'm quite conscious of what I take in, especially as like a dark-skinned woman, and like I understand the ways in which certain things can impact me. So I just kind of like, she like someone's at it again, do you know what I mean? But like I'm not gonna let that stop me from whatever.
100%, I agree. And I think this is the problem that I have as well, is so much that we as just Black people alone have to deal with, than to hear that, you know, a young, beautiful Black woman has to kind of, you know, pick what she absorbs so it doesn't mess with her mental. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's coming from Black people. That's coming from other Black women. You know, it's sad.
And I think for me personally, like I was telling you this earlier, like I was scrolling and I saw it and I was like, oh, all right, bet. And I just unfollowed her on Instagram. Like I don't need anything else to do with you, because I have been a fan of hers before. Like I've listened to music, but like if that's the case, I don't need to consume your material, and I definitely don't need to support you. So
I never knew anything about Dani Leigh. The only tune I listened to was her and Chris Brown, because that's Chris Brown is just Chris Brown. So every tune he drops is a banger. So that's the only song I have ever heard of her. I didn't even, I don't know, she didn't fascinate me in the music video for me to even go on YouTube to search who she is. Do you know what I mean? I'm just interested in Chris Brown. Do you see what I'm saying?
And you guys brought up the video that Kimberly did on For Harriet. And in that, she was like, how can we cancel you when we don't even know you? And I was like, but that's true, because like I knew who she was, but a lot of other people that I know did not know who she was. So it's kind of like, how does she have this much?
Yeah, the thing is with these artists as well, I find a lot of it is attention seeking. A lot of these things, you know, you say just to get the, she never said, do you know what I mean? To get your little likes up, to get your following up, to people to have her name in their mouth, because I don't believe her apology, you know, I think she knew what she was doing. Writing and releasing a song like that, even though she said she had no clue, it wasn't purposeful, some of it had to be, you know, thought of to be triggering. If that, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think it was complete BS. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. She's Dominican. And people from Dominican, or who are Dominican, are notoriously colorist and racist. It's just a fact. Like, you could go and look.
Sorry, educate me. So Dominican is, what is that?
The Dominican Republic, which is connected to Haiti, the island of Hispaniola.
Aren't they black? Aren't they black?
You would think so. You would think so. They don't consider themselves black, which is a whole debate. But in 2012, Henry Louis Gates Jr., he had written a book. He wrote a book, and in the book, he put some statistics in there, and he said that 82% of Dominicans identified as in between black and white because they wanted to be as far away from blackness as possible, but they know that they can't be considered white. So it's like you grew up in a culture that is notorious for hating people of darker complexions, and especially hating black people. We could go back to Dominican history.
But the thing that's annoying with that, the thing that is aggravating with that, is that if you want to be as far away associated with black people, but you want the culture. You still want the culture, because Dani Leigh still in her music videos, the way she sings, the artist that she clearly works with is Black culture. Do you know what I mean? Like, these people embody the culture. So this is what's really annoying. If you want to separate yourself, then separate completely. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's too profitable to separate completely. That's why I'm like, you're not dumb. You did this on purpose. Not only did you do it for the shock factor, but you claim you have all these Black friends around you and you have a group of beautiful Black women. Not one of them told you, sis, leave that in your mind. Don't record this. Don't let that leave the studio. Like, you really messed up.
Yeah.
All these Black friends you got around you, you're not using them for the sake of friendship, because that would be friendship, is me telling you, you know what, that doesn't look right, don't do it. You're using me to steal my culture and to profit off of it.